Now, here's some ideas about using body language effectively. And these are ideas that you can put into practice. For instance, mirroring, assuming the posture and movement of the other person. So assume a student comes into me and they are excited. And I have to tell you this, Mrs. Pence. I have to tell you right now. If I go, okay, go ahead and tell me. They're probably going to, my body language is not open. My body language is not the same as theirs. But if I say, good, come on in and sit down and tell me, I'm mirroring them. I'm utilizing the same body language they have. Now, if they're upset and they're coming in and they're crying, I'm not going to cry, but I might have that same emphasis of body language. Come on in, sit down, let's talk. But then the next thing I might do is pace them. Pacing is using their body language to take them to a calmer state or a different state. If they're crying, if they're out of control, I might have a more, not out of control, but a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Excited body language myself when they come in, but I might begin to take my own body language down to a calmer state to help them take theirs there. Believe it or not, it works. It's true, because people tend to mirror one another in conversations. Try to look at two people when one is closed off. The other person oftentimes closes themselves off. So we can work with the body language that we see in the other person. So my suggestion to you is, in this case, the example would be, if you have a student who's excited, start off with them there, especially if it's excited for a bad reason. Help them pace them down by your own body language gradually into a more calm state so they can actually tell you what's going on with them, so they can actually say to you what's happening rather than just be in this excited state. Also, and I probably should have put on here, when you're working with more than one person, here's some things to observe, and you might sometimes have parents and children come into your classrooms, students come into your classrooms together. And these are some things to observe about what's happening in this family unit, or what's happening between this couple, or what's happening with this parent and this child. One is, are their movements synchronous? In other words, if the mother and daughter are both laughing, if they're, both relaxed, you can say, yeah, this probably means that they're on the same level. They're feeling the same about this. However, if you notice that they're, it's not a however, complementary. For instance, if the mother is sitting beside the daughter and she, and the daughter goes, back. They're synchronous. They're doing things that are synchronous and complementary. They're doing the same kind of thing to each other. They're touching one another. But if the mother's going, yeah, right, and the daughter's like pulling away, you'll notice that they're dysynchronous. Their movements are showing conflict. The things that are happening in that relation are showing conflict. How can this help you? You know right away that there's something going on there, and that's going to affect your communication with them. And you know right away that you have to connect with what's going on between the two of them, and it's harder, as a counselor, it's harder with two people who are dysynchronous than it is with one person who you're pacing. So it just lets you know a little bit about the fact that this communication between them is going to be harder, however doable, because you can connect with each one. And it's going to be something that you have to attend to, and you have to observe so that you know how to relate to it, so that you know how to meet with the daughter and meet with the mother at the same time where they are non-verbally. All right. Oops, sorry. Another thing that you need to do in observing is notice facial expressions. I'm not going to read all these things to you, but pick one of these out right now. Just pick out a facial expression and do it. I don't see it happening a lot. I see a few. Okay, good. I know. I'm trying to keep you awake. All right, good. Did you notice how your face changed as you did it? Did you notice what you did? Now do a different one like it's the opposite of what you did. Good. Yeah, I see some different ones. How is your face different there? It is, isn't it? It feels different. And from my perspective, it looks different. A couple of you looked really mad at me at first. So I looked back to you to see what you were doing because your smiles or your relaxed state was much better. I could tell from your facial expressions not exactly what you were feeling, and that's not the idea. But I could tell the general idea about what you were feeling. And as a teacher, it might help me to say, tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're thinking, because I can see you're deep in thought there. Or, oh, you're surprised. You must not have caught that when I said that in class, or something along that nature. Facial expressions are one of the things that tell us a lot about people. You notice that a lot of these are negative ones to look for, but also let's look down at the bottom for positive ones. Sometimes just a smile or a nod can tell us, yes, I get it, I understand where you are. And you can tell that from what your students or their parents or other people say. Now, another thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit, and I can't go into this in great detail because it's a pretty in-depth thing, is neurolinguistic programming of eye movements. And they are called well, I guess all I've said here is eye movements, but it's here we go, accessing cues. And people will use their eyes to think. Neurolinguistic programming, it's a counseling terminology, it's a counseling theory, but it says to us that there's a link between the way our eyes move and the way we think. So just for 1 second, do this. Think really hard. What color was the carpet in the hall outside this room before you came in? What color was it? Think about it. Anybody remember? I don't remember. It's not important. What I wanted you to do was think. Most likely because I asked you a question about sight that had to do with color, most likely at some point when you were trying to remember, your eyes either went up or you looked straight ahead or around and defocused, and kind of like all of this up here with me and the screen kind of went out of focus and you tried to remember. Psychologists have shown that when we are thinking, we oftentimes access different parts of our brains, and that shows up in our eye movements. It shows up about what we're doing and what we're thinking in the way that we move our eyes, believe it or not. So let me just tell you now that when some child in your classroom rolls their eyes, they may not actually be rolling their eyes, they may be thinking. So be careful about that. Noticing eye movements can help us to understand how a person relates to the world. So most of the time it's not about, are they looking in the right place? Most of the time it's about, tell me what happened in your family. We can tell if they look one way or another, whether they're thinking visually, auditorily, or kinesthetically. And that can help us. And it's a nonverbal cue they give us to help us understand what's going on with them. And I'll tell you in a minute how to relate to that. I keep hitting the wrong one. So here's some ideas for you, and you may get some more information about this, I think, if you have a little bit of time. But here's some information for you. Typically, and this is not true of every person, so don't pigeonhole people, but typically when a person looks up, they are accessing visually. They are picturing something that happened. So when I say, what happened last night at home? If they look up, they're probably picturing what happened at home. If they look here, and sometimes, and I had a friend who used to do this, until I learned about this, I thought, what is she doing? But when she would try to remember conversation, she would look back and forth, and I can't even do it, but she would look back and forth like this, very rapidly. She would access auditorily what she heard and what she was remembering, and also trying to put it into words to say it out loud. So she would go back and forth auditorily, trying to think about what was going on. So it could be that if you have a student that had something happen at home last night, and they're accessing visually, they're picturing their mother and father fighting. I'm giving you an example. Could be anything they're picturing. Or if they're accessing auditorily, they might have heard that fight and they're trying, they're going with that, what they heard, and they're remembering what they heard. If they look down to the right, and it would be your left as you face. So if it's me and I'm looking down here to the right, and you're looking at me, it's to your left, they're accessing kinesthetically. It may have been what they felt. They may be accessing how they felt that night when this conversation was going on, this argument was going on with their parents.